Hey guys, it's Emma Vigling with TYT Politics. I hope that you're having a lovely day. I hope this connection's a little bit better than earlier on. I will just get right to it because I know I do all these long intros, but again, check out Jordan and Eric's videos, youtube.com/TYT Politics. Don't forget to subscribe, tell everyone in your family, and shake them until they do it. That's the way to go. Manipulate them, blackmail them into subscribing to TYT Politics. Actually, don't do any of those things. Oy, oy, oy. So, I wanted to discuss a story that I didn't really get to last week, but it actually was really bugging me and really irritating me because Tulsi Gabbard met with Donald Trump and was trying to advise him on not taking a neoconservative position in terms of foreign policy with Syria. For some reason, that bothers the Democrats, who are supposed to be the progressive party that don't want war. Let's read an article summarizing her meeting with Trump, and then I'll give you just a bunch of information about her policy on Syria. As you guys know, Tulsi Gabbard is a pretty staunch progressive. She's not Bernie Sanders on every single issue progressive. She has a military background, so she can sometimes be more anti-interventionist, more, in terms of refugees, a little more buttoned up than maybe some progressives would like. But overall, Tulsi Gabbard is one of my favorite politicians and one of the best people in Washington. She's shown immense bravery, both as a veteran and as someone who abandoned her position at the DNC to fight for what she thought was right. So, this is a summary of what happened in her meeting with Trump. So, Representative Tulsi Gabbard, Democrat from Hawaii, said she and President-elect Donald Trump had a frank conversation at Trump Tower on Monday, this was last week, about American policy abroad and the need to avoid escalations that could lead the nation into war. I felt it is important to take the opportunity to meet with the president-elect now before the drumbeats of war that neocons have been beating drag us into an escalation of the war to overthrow the Syrian government, Gabbard said in a statement. A former top official at the Democratic National Committee who resigned to campaign for Bernie Sanders, Gabbard, an Iraq War veteran, said she would not let her differences with Trump undermine America's national security. During his presidential campaign, Trump expressed skepticism about the neoconservative and interventionist line of thinking. However, then-candidate Trump's claims that he opposed the Iraq War are simply not true. After the meeting, Trump's former campaign manager, Kellyanne Conway, offered praise for the Hawaii congressman and those like her who are pushing the Democratic Party to expand their base. Representative Gabbard went against her party quite boldly early on, and I think you are hearing people like Representative Tim Ryan also raising concerns, Conway said. Bernie Sanders today was also quoted as saying that they should stop identity politics in the Democratic Party. Whoa, he can call and we'll tell them how to do that and win. So I think there's a recognition that there's a big country, a massive amount of voters that feel disaffected from their party, the Democrats. Kellyanne Conway, someone who I don't agree with anything on policy-wise, but someone whose intelligence I respect. She's the person and one of the main reasons that Donald Trump got elected and is president-elect of the United States. She had an incredibly smart campaign strategy, and she was able to tame the beast that is Donald Trump. So, I find it so outrageous that anyone would have any problem with Tulsi Gabbard meeting with the president-elect to steer him in a more progressive direction. Why is that an issue for you? But that's because you want to play identity politics, that's the first reason, and the second reason is some of you guys maybe do want to go to war with Syria. I'll expand on Tulsi Gabbard's position because it's not black and white. So this is from The Guardian. At first glance, Gabbard, who is from Hawaii and is the first Hindu member of the U.S. Congress, seems like an unlikely counselor to Donald Trump. She resigned from the Democratic National Committee to back blah, 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 you guys know that. So she credited Bernie Sanders with starting a movement of love and compassion, although by then Clinton's victory was certain. But the Iraq War, I don't know about that. But the Iraq War veteran has also expressed views that might appeal to Trump, criticizing Obama, condemning interventionist wars in Iraq and Libya, and taking a hard line on immigration. In 2014, she called for a rollback of the visa waiver program from Britain and other European countries with which she called Islamic extremist populations. In October of last year, she tweeted, Al-Qaeda attacked us on 9/11 and must be defeated. Obama won't bomb them in Syria. Putin did. Never forget 9/11. She was among the 47 Democrats who joined Republicans to pass a bill mandating a stronger screening process for refugees from Iraq and Syria coming into the U.S. So that's when I say it's not black and white. Her position is more nuanced. It's not just like gung-ho, anyone can come in to the U.S. Not that I'm saying that the other position is that, but she does have a little bit more buttoned up view of foreign policy, a little bit more conservative in terms of if refugees should be coming to the U.S. We could have a discussion with her, an open and honest discussion. I don't even see that really as that major of an issue in terms of the fact that she's not saying we should ban the refugees coming to the U.S. She just wants a stronger screening process. I don't know if I necessarily agree, but that's where her position is more nuanced, and I'm sure her background as someone in the military informs that position. But other than that, she's so on point. So I'm going to read you guys an article from The Nation, which really sums up her opinion on the intervention in Syria. The Nation, besides hiring Joan Walsh, has been one of the only progressive outlets to actually do some awesome journalism after Bernie Sanders was not the nominee, and a lot of other outlets that were semi-pro Bernie just kind of jumped the shark and were going full ho Clinton. So, of all the myths that passed for conventional wisdom in Washington in the late Obama years, perhaps one of the most intractable is the idea that the president has done nothing concerning Syria. According to Robert S. Ford, who served as a U.S. ambassador to Syria for 4 years, is now a senior fellow in the Middle East Institute, the Obama administration has followed a hands-off policy regarding Syria, claiming that the president and other senior administration officials have been reluctant to use the tools available to create pressure on the Syrian government. And last week, the New York Times reported that 51 mid-level State Department officials authored a dissent cable to Secretary John Kerry urging the United States to carry out military strikes against the government of President Bashar al-Assad. The Times noted further that Foggy Bottom's pinstripe dissidents have long chafed at the White House's refusal to be drawn into the conflict in Syria. Yet, far from refusing to be drawn into the conflict in Syria, the Obama administration has actively financed and trained so-called moderate Syrian rebels, who are in fact Salafist extremes in league with al-Qaeda, since 2013. The administration's parallel efforts, one by the CIA, followed by another run out of the Pentagon, has helped to destabilize the region, contribute to the refugee crisis, and, in targeting the sovereign government of Bashar al-Assad, help strengthen the geostrategic position of ISIS. The article continues. Efforts to halt the administration's illegal and counterproductive war for regime change in Syria have been led by Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard of Hawaii. Last year, Gabbard, a two-tour Iraq war veteran, sponsored a bill that would cut off funding for what Gabbard called the administration's regime change war in Syria, Gabbard sponsored an amendment to the Defense Appropriations Act that would block funding for the so-called Syrian Train and Equip program. While the amendment garnered the support of 135 House members, including staunch conservatives like South Carolina Congressman Trey Gowdy and Michigan Congressman Justin Amash, and leading Democrats like Maryland Senate candidate Chris Van Hollen, it ultimately did not pass. And the amendment's defeat happened to coincide with the release of the State Department's dissenting cable calling for military strikes against Syria. Taken together, these are troubling developments because, as Gabbard correctly notes, should the regime change war succeed in overthrowing Assad, it will be ISIS and al-Qaeda who will step in and fill the vacuum. It is this prospect which would be strategic, tactical, and moral catastrophe that American policy should seek to avoid. Far from alleviating the humanitarian and refugee crisis, military action by the U.S. would only exacerbate them. And yes, the administration persists via the CIA's Train and Equip program in doing the bidding of our most odious allies, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, by putting pressure on Assad to leave the scene. At a speech this weekend at the People's Summit in Chicago, Gabbard took direct aim at the 51 State Department's dissidents. According to Gabbard, this is a quote, "Too many people have not learned from the past. They've learned nothing from Iraq and that overthrow of Saddam Hussein. They've learned nothing from overthrowing Gaddafi in Libya and the chaos that ensued as a result." Gabbard said to the nation on Monday, "Escalating the war to overthrow Assad will make things even worse. It will cause more suffering and chaos and strengthen ISIS and al-Qaeda to the point where they will be able to take over all of Syria. That result would, according to Gabbard, mean disaster, including a genocide against religious minorities, secularists, atheists, and anyone who refuses to accept extremist Wahhabi theology. The refugee crisis would increase exponentially, and it could lead to a direct confrontation with Russia." So, that is genius. She gets it. She understands the problems with intervention, but the rest of the neoliberals are like, no, we want war. We want to overthrow Assad. I understand that, yes, Assad is a psycho dictator, but have we learned nothing from Iraq? Have we learned nothing from Iraq? And you know what? They just want to follow in Hillary Clinton's footsteps. Oh, the drumbeats of war. Let's walk along to it. And Tulsi Gabbard, how dare you attempt to save American lives by going meeting with the Republican president? No, we're supposed to pout in a corner and pretend, oh, we're going to oppose everything he does for right now, or, oh, we shouldn't work with him. I don't give a damn if you work with him if the result is saving American lives. Who cares? But you just want to toe the party line. So all these reports come out. Oh, the corporate Democrats, the Democratic Party, they're not pleased with Tulsi Gabbard. Well, you know what? She's pretty used to that because she spat in your face, rightfully so, when you rigged the primary against Bernie Sanders for your unbelievably corrupt candidate. A candidate who we knew had a significantly high chance of losing to Donald Trump. And look what happened. So excuse me if we don't listen to you and your war drumbeats anymore. And we're going to listen to someone who actually has principles and is deciding to meet with the president elect to prevent us from causing further disaster internationally and saving lives, both American lives and lives in the Middle East. Forgive me if we're not going to listen to your advice anymore. So, listen to some of the headlines. This is from the Washington Post. This is, if she was going to be either Secretary of State or the UN ambassador, but it's already been filled by Nikki Haley, so it's a moot point. I know this story's a little old. But this is one headline. Why Tulsi Gabbard can't represent America at the United Nations, from the Washington Post. Here's another. This one's disgusting. Democratic representative from the Daily Beast. Democratic Representative Tulsi Gabbard goes to Trump Tower to defend Assad. This is from Alternet. Why did progressive Democrat Tulsi Gabbard meet with Trump for a potential role in his administration? And then beneath it, Gabbard's meeting is puzzling to say the least. Is it? Is it puzzling? Doesn't seem really puzzling to me. She actually has principles. And here's Howard Dean. Listen to what he had to say about Tulsi Gabbard on Hardball. Oh, Chris Matthews, you're holding them accountable. Former DNC chairman and MSNBC contributor reacted, this is Howard Dean, reacted to Democratic Representative Tulsi Gabbard's meeting with President-elect Trump on Tuesday's broadcast of Hardball. She's an interesting person. And the people of Hawaii basically have her tabbed as an extremely ambitious with flexible principles, Dean told Chris Matthews. She was a lefty for Bernie. Now she's talking about running against Mazi Hirano, who's a left-wing or liberal senator from Hawaii. So who knows what this is about? Aren't you running to be the head of the DNC? Did you throw your little hat in the ring, Howard Dean? I appreciate what you did with the 50-state strategy, but be gone. If you don't see the value in Tulsi Gabbard, you don't know anything about the Democratic Party and where it needs to go. You know who probably is for this kind of reaching across the aisle that you're supposed to be for is Keith Ellison and other progressives within the party. So, don't give me this. She's an interesting person and extremely ambitious with flexible principles. That's not even a dog whistle to insult her. That's a human whistle. So, give me a break, Howard Dean. I'm done with you. I'm literally done with you. That should be my tagline for these videos. I don't even know why we're listening to Howard Dean anymore. So, establishment media, establishment Democrats, criticizing Tulsi Gabbard for not wanting us to go to war, that means you don't care anything about policy and principle. All you care is about the party line and wailing and whining because your horrible candidate lost to a potential fascist, but if he can be moved on this issue, that is a good thing, because people like us actually care about the results of policy, not just the party infighting. So when you say you're going to reach across the aisle, that's BS. It's only reaching across the aisle when you can enhance your corporate donors, or your defense contracting donors in this case. She's actually reaching across the aisle. But now you don't care. God, I hope she runs for president in 2020 and just rubs it in your face. Pathetic. And just this also amuses me. To end on a lighter note, so now all of these conservative outlets are obsessed with Tulsi Gabbard. So the National Review headline is, "Meet the beautiful beautiful, this is how you know it's a right-wing outlet because they focus on her appearance. Meet the beautiful, tough young Democrat who's turning heads by challenging Obama's foreign policy." Thank you for adding the beautiful in there, because that makes sense. That's important for policy. But anyway, that was just a headline I found on the National Review to bookend this story where I yelled at you guys for like 20 minutes. So, anyway, I'm so pro Tulsi Gabbard. I'm so pro what she's doing, and the establishment can whine all she wants, but if she keeps us out of war and she convinces Trump not to listen to the John Boltons of the world, it's a win for America. So, have a great day, guys.